trait that comes with entrepreneurship. So most entrepreneurs are extremely hardworking and very committed, but they're probably low on discipline, on self-discipline.
So like in case of a team which involves more than 10 to 15 maybe, so how strongly you should try to enforce this kind of discipline or something like this? And in that case where it is highly multidisciplinary, again the same question, should he be hands-on with everything?
I think that can only work to a point. Once you reach a certain point, you really have to have specialists who make those decisions. So, and the sooner you get to the point, the better for the long-term survival of the organization. But there too, you'll find examples. Steve Jobs was extremely hands-on in everything. There are many companies where that was not the case, and there are successful models of both.
Excuse me.
Hi. So, over the course of your company's history, you mentioned you had different focuses, like technological solutions versus business agility now. So, my question for you is, at what point and how did you realize that the company needs to shift focus? Were there any markers or like hints in the market that you were in at that time? Or did like revenues get slow? Like what exactly is the difference that you should change?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And that's, I think, one of the most important questions that the entrepreneur has to ask himself. Your job is to constantly focus on the market and see and anticipate shifts. So you have to monitor your customers' needs, how the customers' needs evolve. You have to monitor how your competition is reacting. You have to monitor changes in technology, and then take a call.
So I have a situation rather than a question, like the situation which I am in right now. So I have an idea. I don't have the exact expertise needed to take it to the point where I expect. So should I wait and get the expertise first? Or should I just start right down and start collecting people, creating a team?
It would seem like if you have an idea and you can start building a team that could help you maybe flush out the idea, that seems like the right way to go. But I think you actually have an entrepreneurship cell that can help people with that, right? Yeah. Your incubator.
They got incubator, they got sale,
Yeah.
they got even space where they can get. We have more inputs that we can for how to develop products.
So is that something that can happen?
Something they can do.
So tomorrow you can tell us that you solved the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, hello. So presently there are a lot of tech startups that are spending a lot of time just scaling their company and like penetrating the market further and further on the basis of the increasing valuation, getting more and more investment from investors. But they don't really have revenue models. That break-even point comes very, very late. Like companies like Google, Facebook, Flipkart, and we even see it possibly with companies like housing. So my question is it healthy to sort of sacrifice profitability in the short term so that you can grow, or is it important to early on get like a money model that's bringing money in very, very quickly?
So depending on the industry, it could be one or the other. And I would say that there are probably some industries where first mover advantage makes a lot of sense. So I think you're talking about housing.com. That would be probably a good example of an industry where once you build a brand, you draw traffic, and then you can delay your revenue realization till the point you have where you build a significant lead over the competition, and you become the default choice. But it has to be an environment where there has to be capital available to sustain those losses over a period of time. And that can change quickly. So that's a big risk of that model.
Okay, so one of the most common pieces of advice that budding entrepreneurs are given from other entrepreneurs or mentors, or even like common sense wise, is that you should not go into business with friends or relatives or people who are close to you, like separate business from your personal life. But you very successfully created business with your wife. So what are your thoughts on this whole thing? And did you deal with the same problems that people do deal with when they're like in business with relatives?
So I'd say, in general, people where they've had family members involved or friends involved, a lot of those businesses end up getting, either the business gets hurt or the relationship gets hurt or both. So that's extremely common. I've been fortunate, but that's not the norm.
Hello sir, I want to ask what inspired you to become an entrepreneur and how did you know that you want to do in IT sector only, and how these specifications, how did you know that you want to build an IT company and these sectors only?
Well, I think, growing up, I always felt that I was somebody who liked to make my own rules. I didn't like rules defined by other people, and therefore decided the best way for me to be happy long term was to be an entrepreneur. I think I knew that very early. IT, when I graduated from IIT Bombay, we actually had, I think, only one programming course and one computer course. So, but there was something that said that this is going to be a growing field, and that field attracted me, so that's why I chose that field. But I think your question is very, very important, because quite often the business that somebody starts with is not the business they ultimately evolve into. And one of the greatest examples of this is Microsoft. So Gates knew when he was in college that the personal computer was really going to take off. And he thought that it was such a big opportunity that he shouldn't wait to finish college. So he left, as you all know, after his first year or sometime during his first year in college from Harvard. But does anybody know the first idea, the first product that Microsoft developed? Excuse me? Interpreter. No, it wasn't. So the first product, his first product was to control traffic signals. That was his big idea. And through complete happenstance, he realized that there was an opportunity to provide an operating system to IBM. And he made a couple of very smart, swift moves to capitalize on that opportunity. And the rest is history. So I think if you're focused in the right area and you have your wits about you, you don't necessarily have to start with the idea that's perfect. The idea can evolve. And you have to be nimble enough to adapt when opportunities present themselves. I see. One of my classmates and one of Raj and my classmates and a very experienced executive who was the CEO of Sintel for the last 4 years is here. So I'd like to invite him to stage and have him answer a few questions for you, because I'm sure you learn a lot from him as well.
Good evening. I think all your questions are answered.
So basically, like Prashant, he's an experienced corporate executive. In fact, I think that he's probably the guru on something called corporate leadership. And I think Bharat brought him on board as the CEO of Simca in 2010 when he wanted to get a fantastic corporate leader. So maybe Prashant can tell us what leadership is all about. And your story. That would 5 minutes.
So price of leadership is no hair. That's how I made it. But I was actually inspired. He passed away just a few days back by Warren Buffett. I was fortunate enough to meet him back in 70s when I was studying at University of Cincinnati. He was president of the university, and I listened to some of his lectures. And he had written few articles. But if Peter Drucker is called the father of management, Warren Buffett is father of leadership. And leadership is really nothing but self-discovery. Knowing yourself and ability to know yourself, your strengths and weaknesses, and be able to help yourself and others achieve what you yourself and others don't believe is possible. So, in my view, that is it.
Give me some examples. What you could not do with it.
So examples is I would actually go back all the way to 1975 when I went to US. And while working with Siemens, they sent me to several leadership courses at Harvard, Stanford. And one of the places they asked for feedback. And that feedback said, tell us which one was the best experience you had. So I said this was second best. So they wanted to know which was the best one. So I go to the best one. And that was selling books door to door in 1975 in rural America, when I had never sold anything in my life, but that seemed like it will give me tremendous experience about discipline, about organizing myself, about setting goals and finding a way to beat them. So I would say that was the best experience. And I think one of you asked Bharat about how many failures, and he said, which is absolutely true, there are many failures. But one thing I learned, and that is the biggest lesson I learned, is I have never met successful pessimists. Okay, so you have to be optimist, and quite frankly, I never heard anyone who said no, but first time they said yes, they'll buy, I heard that.
Questions?
And I think, turning the clock forward, maybe you asked is, if I look at Sintel, the most recent experience, we have a group of, highly motivated people, Bharat and Nirja, as you heard from them. They have set up a great platform. And what nobody thought was possible, if you look at Sintel performance over the last 5 years, Bharat alluded to the article of Harvard Business Review. But if you look at our performance, we have grown as a public company at 17% compounded annual growth rate in revenues, 24% compounded annual growth rate in profits, and that is either number 1 or number 2 performance in the industry. So setting your goals there and having, in addition to skill set, I'm totally sold on the need for the mindset. If you believe you can do it, and you are open about what you need to do to get there, you'll find a way to get there. And our team has done that. See, as a leader, you have to first of all define the vision of the target. What is it that you want to get to? Second, you have to assess internally what are the things that you can do well and what are the gaps and how quickly you can bridge those gaps. And last but not the least, execution. And that execution comes through relationship, both internal, making sure you have a very open, transparent culture where people are not just going along to get along, but are very open about what is missing, not afraid to criticize, but that criticism is not people-centric, it is issue-centric. And that flawless delivery will get you more and more chances from your customer to engage with them. So basically that was the process.
I'd say one more point I'd like to make is use every opportunity here to learn, grow, and evolve. I was fortunate enough to participate in the Entrepreneurship Summit a few months ago. And I was very impressed. This thing was completely student organized, extremely well run. So get involved in things like that because that's going to give you a very low risk opportunity to learn and fail.
Can we get back to questions? Any questions?
Intel is currently the fifth largest IT company in India, and I think the IT sphere is currently the most open business around. In this business scenario, what makes you different from the others, like let's say Infosys or TCS?
Who are you talking about?
It's a global business.
No, I haven't heard about those companies.
What I am speaking about is like you are currently the fifth largest in terms of metrics. This is the first, the second. It's a good thing that you don't remember the first four guys. And what do you think sets you apart from the above four ones? And how long would you take? What special would you do to become number one?
Okay, first of all, just a correction. I appreciate you calling us fifth. There are several larger companies than us. There are more than four. But in terms of that differentiation, see, we are in a fragmented market. There are the largest company in our segment is IBM, and even they don't have double-digit market share. So in a fragmented business, it is important to know exactly what you are good at, but at the same time, what you are not good at. And that is the trap that many companies fall into. So obviously to win, and to win more business, you have to find a way to say yes, but you have to be also clear about what you will say no to. So our focus in terms of areas that we do well by various business segments or as we call verticals, and then creating intellectual property, the accelerators and frameworks that are unique to us, and then delivering on a promise. Whatever we take on, ensuring that that quality of the delivery is what customer expects. So, it may sound too simplistic, but if you say what you are going to do and actually do it, that becomes a tremendous differentiator.
Just one question from my side. I'd like to ask that if things are not working well in a startup, then there are two options basically the startup has. Either, close the startup and move ahead, or second, to give their total dedicated efforts and to revive it. So, sir, how do balance this trade-off if these things are not particularly working well? How do you decide that whether should I give up or should I again put my efforts and then again revive it? Because an entrepreneur is a very optimistic person. He doesn't want to give up.
I think Bharat will be in a best position to answer that.
Yeah, that's a really tough question. And the entrepreneur has to look deep within himself or herself to answer that question. They have to understand the size of the opportunity, their passion to realize success, and their ability to commit to make that happen. And those are the factors.
who don't have the similar ambitions as you. So they might choose a different track. So sir, your aspirations might be different as an entrepreneur than theirs. So sir, then how things will work on that particular manner?
Yeah, actually that complicates things even more, and that's why at least we chose the path of self-funding. But you know, that dilemma that you just pointed out exists in every field of human endeavor. If you're climbing a mountain, you decide you want to climb this 18,000 foot high mountain, and you encounter storms along the way. Do you move up or do you come down? It's the same dilemma, and you have to find the answers within yourself with the facts you have. Okay?
Thanks for your class after this for the students. But I will request Professor Sina to kindly come and take a few words.
Bharat and Prashant, please stay here. So let me just clarify that this was a great session going on, but as typical functionary, I had to come and request Prashant to stop it because many of the people have another class at 6:30. So we are not stopping because the questions have ended, but we are stopping because we don't want some of these people to get another excuse of missing from the class.
Totally understand.
So, I think before I say anything else, let us first show our appreciation to both Bharat and Prashant for As you already know from the introduction, that both Bharat and Prashant were not so different from a lot of you over here some time ago. And which means that they are not just good to see success stories of what somebody can do, but also for some of you to see maybe a mirror, an image or something, that, oh, can I also try to do it in this way? And which means that we would expect that thanks to Raj being here and having us with this course, that you will continue to find engagement with Bharat and with Prashant and try to find ways in which you can tap their advice and experience whatever you are trying to do. On behalf of IIT Bombay, we need to thank Bharat on many counts. First of all, at IIT, we have been talking about entrepreneurship in terms of a formal entrepreneurship activity for more than 5 years. But we have never taken because we didn't really have the people amongst our faculty to do it. And Bharat just came and banged his hand and said, okay, time is now. You don't have people, get people from outside, but just get going. So the utter optimist also forced this thing to start at IIT Bombay, and he has also very generously supported it financially to make a lot of things happen which would have otherwise taken a lot longer. Prashant has been a leading light in not just with Sintel, but with many of the activities he has been involved in. And he has been a great leader and a role model for people on how to manage situations, how to run businesses, how to scale operations. And many of these things you'll be learning as very difficult skills. And here you will have somebody to refer to and try to learn from when you want to get to know really how to do these things. So both of them, I'm sure, will continue to be involved with this program in terms of helping you in whatever ways they can. So let us thank them once again on behalf of IIT and behalf of all.
Thank you, Ravi. And what I want to say from my side is I was really gratified and delighted that IIT Bombay jumped at the chance to start an entrepreneurship institute when I called. They took very little time to make a decision. I am passionate about this place and about IIT Bombay. It's an institute that is remarkable, and I think with this center, we can take it much higher, and I'm confident that you guys will help do that. The one parting thought I have for you, as you go along with your careers is please find ways to stay engaged with IIT Bombay. We need to make this the best place there is out there.